Alrighty, today is May 28th, 2026, and this is the Podkatz with your host, Jason Katz. Wait, no, fuck. This is the Podkatz with Jason Katz with your host, Jason Katz. Brand recognition is important, which is why I have to say my name. Say my name, say my name. No, alright. I've been thinking about this Podkatz, and it's going to be very interesting once I get to the level and viewers. Obviously, not now. There's only like 20-something of you guys, but when I get to the level of viewership that requires, like Spotify and I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very visual Podkatz. For example, I am adjusting my camera, right? And also, it is, I don't know, it's not exactly something you listen to on streaming, right? Because you need the drive. Is there a bug in my car? I don't like bugs. I'm dealing with ants. I've tried everything. They just keep coming. And it's very, I lose a lot of, I have a lot of anxiety towards bugs because I feel like it's just like, well, first off, they're bugs, but like, I don't know. I wasn't really raised to process my emotions, and I have no control over the bugs. And everything I try makes it kind of worse. So, yeah, it's very frustrating. And like every time I see a speck in my apartment now, I'm like, oh my God, is that an ant? But like, that's just anxiety. And also, like, my landlord isn't really, they're trying their best and they're being polite. And honestly, they're better landlords than like most Seattle landlords from what I've learned. But they're not exactly doing anything. They gave me some traps, I guess, but it's not like they, like, it seems to be coming from the roof, and nobody's been on the roof yet. And they said they brought a roofer up and didn't see anything. I'm like, okay, did you bring a roofer up with the spray or I guess they're injections. They're like syringes, oranges. What have I been doing this week? I got confirmation on a good thing. I learned a little bit more about the thing I was really excited last week, and then I learned something that I made me a little bit less excited. But it's okay, there's a lot of things. I can't really go into details yet. But yeah, I've got some June shows coming up, and I'm working on July and stuff like that. Work is going good, which is not the case for many Americans. I just want to propose something. What if we just kept doing what we're doing with no money, or like, you know what I mean, right? Like the CEO, like, I guess, is that communism? I don't know. I don't think so. But I need to exit 109 or 105. I'll probably be done by the time I'll probably be done podcatsting by the time I get down to there, because I'm going kind of near Olympia. But basically, I am moving my progress and my, I'm reading. I bought a somatic workbook, therapy workbook. That's working great, I've only read a few pages, but I don't know. Where do we start with this week? I'm still reading this book that I bought. It's about like emotionally immature parents and the effect they have on their children. And they give some checklists and exercises, and there's been 2 of them, and almost both of them, that's not a good sentence. Both of them, my parents kind of scored well over what they said the average would be. like it's like 15 items that you can check. My parents are averaging like 9 to 10 of each per parent. Not good, right? Not exactly the best scores. What else happened today? I missed my chiropractor appointment. I had yoga yesterday, and I think the yoga teacher's kind of into me. I don't know. She's really pretty, and she's British or something. I don't know what she's. British, South African, Australian. One of the beautiful accents. For such evil colonizers, they have such a lovely accent, mate. Crikey. You know what I mean? Like, I find it more calming, and I want to make a move. It's just, I don't really want to lose that time slot for yoga because, you know, it's great. She's a great teacher. I don't want to make things awkward, but I do. She was like, she normally is at the center of the class. And this week, I mean, I don't do it weekly, but like, she was like very close to me. Like, she moved throughout the room, and she like, I mean, that's probably just something yoga teachers do, but like, I don't know, there was something unspoken there. Maybe it's just my imagination. Maybe I'm just horny. I'm masturbating less. I know you guys don't really want to hear that, but I mean, I used to masturbate like a few times a day, and now it's like once or twice every 3 days. And I think masturbation's important because, you know, it's kind of a use it or lose it thing, apparently. Like, if you look at the biological science, it's like, if you don't, you know, it's important to your libido, but like, it's something that your brain can be addicted to. And I definitely have no self-control. I mean, I'm working on a lot of self-control and addiction stuff. What was I gonna say? Like, you know, it's attached to you, which isn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's not something you can go buy. Like, I can't go buy my penis. But I haven't been watching porn, and my imagination for sexual fantasies is getting way stronger. And I think that's so important, because porn at this point, I think, is just a psyop. Like, at this point, like, it's crazy the amount of porn. We have way too much porn. And I don't think it has anything to do with the performers. I think it has everything to do with the system. Once again, we're living in a very tech feudal oligarchy system, and it's scary because it's out of my control. Let's see. So yeah, I was dealing with Progressive last week. I was very stressed. I was on the phone for like over an hour every day from Tuesday to Friday. I went through like a billion different representatives. They gave me a quote on Tuesday for the same coverage for a substantially lesser price. And they were like giving me the workaround, you know, different representatives. Every representative was like, when I put your information in the system, it actually shows us that you should show us $1,200 a month. And I'm like, lady, I'm not giving you like a full, like, you know what I mean? Like, they just keep upping it. I'm like, just because you type something in your stupid software that's made to exploit people doesn't mean that it's true. And basically what ended up happening is I ended up, how do I say this? So originally I called because they were increasing my monthly rate by 100, and I got no discount. I have the same rate, but $3 more per month. And I was just so broken by the end of it. I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Fine. Fuck you, Flo. You know, just fuck you guys. Fuck Progressive. And this is sad, because I've noticed that when I filmed this, usually that day something happens. And on Friday, the day after, I got on the phone with a lady that was like finally helpful, and she was like, she had a baby she was holding a baby. I could tell because I could hear the baby, unless she was faking it. That'd be fucked up. But basically, she explained to me that she is a divorced mother single mother, you know, sob story. I mean, I felt bad, but like also she said Progressive raised her monthly rate by $400 because of the area she lives in. And I was like, you don't even get like a discount for working there? And she was like, no, they don't give discounts for employees. What the fuck are we doing, Progressive? The fuck? I'm just so sick of it because they're like, well, it's not our fault, it's just the system. It's like, yeah, but you're making the system. And like, also Progressive, just like, they fight you when you want a supervisor. And then the supervisor is just a really good, trained arguer. And they do sympathize. The people are sympathizing. That's not the problem. The problem is that nobody seems to have any, what do you call it? Like, exception power. They go, well, there's laws we have to follow in Washington State. There's minimum, blah, 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 because of your accident history. I'm like, well, my accident history is like 1 year out of like 15 years of driving, and most of that's no accidents. Why isn't that coming into play? And I told people that, and they're like, well, that's not how insurance is like calculated. I'm like, well, it fucking should be, you know? Like, I'm not... What happened to your whole fucking marketing campaign about like, oh, we have accident forgiveness? What happened there, Flo? I just have a theory that if I like stormed the Progressive Capitol, you know what I mean? Like, they're wherever they are, the people that are in charge of Progressive, I would just find Flo sitting behind like a boardroom desk. Nah, it's clearly some old white people, but like old white men, that's a big distinction. Although actually I researched it because after that I was just like, I'm gonna Luigi this chick. Totally didn't, totally not serious, but like I looked up the CEO for Progressive, it's a lady. Fuck you. Not that makes that, not that like, obviously women are capable of evil too, and capitalism, blah, 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 system of capitalism. Anyways, it caused me to drink on Friday night. It was the first time I drank in like 6 months. Like the last time I had drank alcohol was New Year's Eve. So Progressive ruined my sobriety. Insurance ruined my sobriety. So thanks a lot, Flo. $400 a month for your employee is crazy work. Like, I think I was talking about this earlier. I was, but like, what if we just keep the world going and nobody needs to pay anything? And like, every time somebody's just like, hey, I'm gonna take more than I need, we just publicly shame them. Or something, I don't know. There's no good system. I think this is why everyone I talk to is just like, my goal in life is to make my own homestead. Instead of like, I wanna own a house. Because like, good luck with that fucking shit. I woke up with a sore throat today. Alright. So, I guess what happened on Saturday is I was on a mic, or I went to a mic Saturday, and this woman who is a comedian who does very selective comedy, I've noticed. They're very loud. They're very attention-seeking. Honestly, after reading my book, they're very emotionally immature and damaged, it looks like. But besides that, this person went with a guy who was performing, and she didn't perform, but she sat in front, and she like made comments to herself throughout everyone's set. And this is like this lady's MO. So like, I've noticed this lady only does like roasts and what do you call it? Roasts and like one producer's shows. Doesn't do any mics, doesn't grind, doesn't really do any. It's weird that she came to the mic and didn't perform, in my opinion, as a comedian. But like, this person has been an audience member back when Comedy Bar was a thing, which is now Emerald. Comedy Bar, of course, being my home club. And this person like was like they like weaponize their laughter. They're like very loud when they laugh, and like people focus on them. And I made fun of it before they became a comedian, and they just never liked me since. And it's honestly behavior I've only seen since grade school. And they make me very uncomfortable because they don't acknowledge my existence when I'm in the room. Again, like if you hate somebody, you should be able to work with them and find peace in that. Maybe I'm just broken when I say that because I've grown up around people that hate me, but like, I do think that's a big skill, especially in comedy, because, you know, I'm not like beefing, but like there's people that I'm not gonna like in comedy. In fact, this is the only person that I don't really like in the comedy scene, which is sad because I like everyone for the most part. I don't know. Either way, reading that book about emotionally immature parents made me realize that this person's very emotionally broken, and I set a boundary. I DM'd them and I was like, hey, stop being loud during my sets. Stop, you know, weaponizing your laughter to get attention. Only talk to me if you're going to be respectful, and, you know, maybe leave the room. And then I linked them the book, because honestly, there's no shade, there's no hate. There's just, I would like to stop. And also, I think it would benefit them. I think a lot of people in the comedy scene would benefit from reading this book. And I think it's a great writing tool as well, because the biggest thing about comedy is, well, okay, there's this quote, I'm gonna butcher it, but like, it's Josh Johnson just came out with a special at the beginning. It's called Symphony. Go watch it. It's on HBO Max. At the beginning, there's a quote on a cardboard paper that's like, if art is, or fuck, something, if something is how we do this, and music is how we, you know, make sense of sound, then comedy is how we make sense of the world, or something like that. And I think that's very important to understand. Going back into the jester theory that I brought up a few weeks ago about how, like, the comedian came up through campfires, and then it was kind of solidified as a job. I feel like as the court jester, only the kings would get it. And the jester's role is to kind of float ideas in a humorous way to the elite, or the, you know, the people in charge, quote unquote. Which is why I think the White House Correspondents' Dinner role, like the host, should be a comedian. That is a job that is very important. I didn't realize how important it was, but it is important. And so, like, the comedian's job is to, like, hear the people, hear their complaints, hear what they're saying, and then go and make art about that that's palatable to the people doing it, and hopefully get them to change their mind. And I think that's so important, because, like, at the beginning I was just like, it's to make people laugh. It is, but it's also to, like, be an artist. And, like, people are like, well, comedy's not really art. I'm like, well, it's not like painting, but it's something that you can think about, like when you think about someone's joke. I don't know. There's a literacy problem in America, and it's actually kind of a weapon in control by the pedophile elite. Just want to point out that Glazine, or whatever the fuck her name is, Maxwell's dad, is the guy that, like, made the textbooks that we all read. And that's so important to realize, because I don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't really have any, if law enforcement is watching this, no plans, but, like, we have to keep talking about the Epstein files until something happens. And sadly, the elite aren't making us hungry. It used to be that they would keep us hungry and they would be in charge of the food. Now it's more like, why would you revolt when you can DoorDash? Why would you revolt when you have AI girlfriends and porn. They keep us comfortable. And they use celebrities partly to do that. This is nothing. This is so weird. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but like at this point, writing's on the wall. You know? Anyways, what was I even talking about? I think the big thing that I have to work on is letting go of emotions and processing emotions, because when I get bullied, I fixate on the bullying, and that's not okay. I don't deserve that. And this comedian that likes to go and weaponize their laughter and be the loudest in the room and be mean. I've heard this person say, I love being a bully. You're 30 something. What the fuck is wrong with you, lady? Anyways, I feel bad for them. But it's important to understand that broken people do not get an excuse. They have an opportunity to fix themselves. And also, this is why I don't really do roast or like roasts, because I was bullied a lot as a kid, even by my parents, kind of, now that I really talk about it. But like, the roast has to be in jest. I have to like the person. I don't like roast battles. And roast battles are like all the rage right now. But like, honestly, like, if I were to do a roast, I would just psychologically analyze them. Like a roast battle. Roasts are different than roast battles. But like, if I did a roast battle, I would psychologically analyze them and read quotes from a book that describe their negative behavior and be like, it's okay. Because that hurts them way more than any insult they can come up with. To me, you know? To paint the picture of their emotional psyche and to like give them forgiveness in a battle. How embarrassing for the roaster. Which is, again, why I don't do it. I don't like roasts. I've decided that. I experienced a lot of roasts. My entire high school career was just a constant roast battle that I usually lost. And to be honest with you, it brings me to this example that Andy Samberg did. I don't remember what roast it was. It might have been the Trump roast. It's one of the Comedy Central ones, but like, everyone's being a dick, right? Andy gets up there and it's just like, I like the way you smile and blah blah. Like, he's like doing like very positive things. He's smiling, and like, the only one that really gets it, the one that's crying, is Bill Hader. I mean, obviously everyone gets it. They're like, oh, like, they're like, Nick Kroll's here. Nick is such a beautiful person. And then like says something kind of passive aggressive about them personally. Whoa. I hope that, dude, I hate cars. I just wish that we as a society would benefit one another more. I don't know. Either way, monetization's crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? Like, it's like every two or three TikToks I watch are ads. Not even like ads, like subliminal advertising. There's content creators whose entire job is to go to places like small businesses and like put them on their TikTok so people will go there. And it's at the point where we're monetizing everything. Like, there's this chick that does a run club. Doesn't that sound great? A run club. Wow, exercise, community. But it's through a run club national organization, and it's like $22 a session or so. It's like, fuck you. I'm not gonna pay you. What happens if I show up, run next to them? They can't outrun me, right? They're gonna be like, you can't run with us, you haven't paid. Like, dude, we're not, you know what I mean? Like, I think we've got enough marketing. for everything. I think we've made enough stuff. I think we've let people that do not care about the outcome of the planet's health, like, why are they in charge? Why is evil in charge? Again, something I can't control. I can only control my thoughts, my feelings. Oh, there was a cop. At least I think that's a cop. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Anyways, stop monetizing things like community. You know? Like, why can't we just, like, okay, the role of a grocery store is to provide food for the community. But now it's like monetizing everything. Sign up for our app, enter your number, scan your card. Do you want to save money on gas? We've got a gas station, blah, 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 blah. And now we're at the point where they're tracking the entrances, right? Like, there's those gates in some ones, and you're like, you can't enter the grocery store without going through the gate, so they can track like peak hours and shit. And I think data's great, but like, the point of data is, in my opinion, is to like unlock the universe, right? Solve the universe, or at least humanity. But we don't use it for that. We don't fucking use it. We use it to make like 1,000 people richer and more profitable and blah, 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 and everything's priced up. It's like, dude, like look, a good example is DNA and 23andMe. And like, it's like, wow, you want to see your ancestors? You want to see your timeline? Great. What are they actually doing? They're collecting human data so they can have it. I don't know. It's probably a government thing, right? Like, there's no way those DNA companies didn't like sell our DNA data, right, to the government. It's just like, we monetize too much. We cannot monetize everything. We don't need, at this point, we don't need money if all we're doing is funneling the money to like a certain group. And by the way, Mark Zuckerberg was in Seattle, maybe he still is. And Mark Zuckerberg has a $300 million mega yacht that costs $90,000 a day to run and maintain. First of all, what the fuck? Second of all, why did somebody build that? Why does Mark Zuckerberg need that kind of yacht? It's huge. It's phallic. It's compensating. Anyways, I can only control myself. And I think I'm getting better at emotional regulation. I think I'm getting better. I'm going to work through the somatic therapy workbook, because seeing this bully made me realize that there are a lot of things that the body holds on to, you know? I respond in a very fight or flight way to things that I should be able to confront and handle and not overthink. And that's so important, because a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people get stuck in their age. You know, there's a lot of adults in power that are really just very hurt children. Isn't that sad? But also, you know, even comedy has these monetizations, okay? I don't want to monetize community. I don't want to monetize anything. I would love to perform for audiences for free. Obviously, we live in a system where I gotta charge tickets. Also, shout out Josh Johnson for A, he put me on his story on Sunday, and that made me feel really good. And B, he just did an interview with like CBS about the ticket pricings. Like, I don't understand why there's always someone that's gonna be like, I'm gonna scam. And it's like, dude, people are just trying to enjoy their lives. No one is profiting except for like a very select group of people and the people that help them do that. And it's sad. What if we monetize love? What if we monetize breathing? Has anyone tried to monetize air? I could be the founder of an app where you monetize air. Doesn't that, see, that's stupid, right? But to somebody fucked up That sounds like a great idea. They just don't know how to do it. That's the problem. Is that to somebody, some evil fucking person that acts maliciously is like, wow, I've never thought of that. Maybe we should do that. No, you fucking asshole. Like, the planet is dying. The population is overgrown comfort. Like a few billion people ago. I'm gonna do some deep breaths. Anyways, it put a lot of things in light for me. Like this book that I'm currently reading about emotions. Holy shit. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Anyways, we as a society are not going to make it if we keep allowing these leeches. You know, like, I don't know why somebody owns a company. I could understand how people who do a certain thing at the, you know what I mean? Like, let's just say they're loggers, right? The group of loggers that are logging should be the owners. I guess that's just employment owned. Winco Foods is employment owned, but again, I cannot help but feel that that's somehow a scam. I don't know the details, but like every time I see like we're an equity employee owned company, it's like, well, are you? I mean, do you have a CEO? Does he have a boat? Because you don't have a boat. No one that works at Winco has a boat, I don't imagine. Again, boats should be like, you know, I think we really need to do something, because the guy, Sam Altman, said we should make intelligence like a utility that people pay us for. What the fuck? What the actual fuck are we doing? No one's gonna do anything because, I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb here because a lot of the people that the Unabomber targeted ended up being on the Epstein list. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and just say he probably knew something, right? Like, I feel like every instance would turn into like a Unabomber thing where it's like, what a social terrorist. And it's like, well, 20 years, 30 years later, he's fucking right. They're monsters. I don't know what the solution is. I don't want to sound like a commie, but that's also another example. In the 50s, you could die for saying anything communist. That's crazy. I don't know. I remember describing stuff like this to my parents, and they were like, what you're describing is evil. I'm like, a world where we all just do what we need to do to survive, and like nobody is better than anyone? Why is that evil? You know? And it's also interesting because my parents love science fiction, and that kind of is always implied in the world of like a lot of like, not utopian science fiction, but like in the future, in most science fiction, and a good example is like Star Trek, humans come together, they get rid of like, they create like one humanitarian nation, right? I mean, I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan, but like, it's always implied that like humanities come together for exploration and answers to humanity. That's the point of Star Trek. But they never really describe like how they get there. They just always say like, oh, like back in the day, like, you know, the Earth nations used to be their own nations and shit. They weren't like Starfleet or whatever. And there's other science fiction like this. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking about shit I don't know about. I'm just seeing a lot of companies go out of business. Too many. And it's like, dude, like when everything goes out of business and everyone can't afford rent, what are we gonna do? And I also heard something that there's probably not gonna be the biggest transfer of wealth because all these old people with money are spending it all on like home care and shit. And yeah, so like they spend all their money and all their equity and shit, like dying in peace, and then It all just goes to more private equity owned, like, home care solutions. And, like, it's just too much private equity. And it's like, what makes it private? Probably all the billionaires that are funding it. And if I die mysteriously, I have no plans of suicide. Just want that to be clear. I want to live. In fact, I've never wanted to be suicidal. Even at my most angstiest, saying it, I could never hurt myself. I hate self-harm. I deflect from it. So, can't fake a suicide, Netanyahu. Just kidding. I don't think I'm gonna. There's so many more other people that they should target right now. I mean, they shouldn't target anyone, but you know what I mean. Like, look. That was a joke. I don't actually think it's Netanyahu. Maybe it is. I don't know. The point is that I just want a world where we can live happily. I don't understand why it's just so... Is it humanity itself? Are billionaires right? Like, are billionaires just like, well, why wouldn't I do this? You know? If I didn't, somebody else would. But, like, we can't just keep having that mindset. I guess. Whoever's controlling the situation or simulation is, like, maxing out greed, I feel like. This is a simulation where greed is maximized. And to quote Bo Burnham, private property is inherently theft. Okay, I'm kind of tired. Anything else I want to say? This is brought to you by NordVPN. We're manifesting that sponsorship. There was a... What do I want to talk about? There was a trailer I saw where Robert Pattinson's going to play Chris Hansen. That's wild. You should watch the Chris Hansen documentary on HBO. That's a good one. More on that, I guess, in another episode. But you know what? I think this has been a good Podkatz with Jason Katz, with your host, Jason Katz. Like, subscribe, follow. Oh, I also got, you know what? Last thing. I have a headlining show in June. It's my first technical headlining show, and it is only 20 minutes as a headliner, but poster says headliner, and it didn't really realize to me until I was like making plans with a friend, and I had to reschedule them, and they were like, hey man, I'm actually gonna go to your headlining show, and I'll bring some friends, and I was like, oh shit, this is my first headlining show. I need some head. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, this has been another episode of Jason Katz's Podkatz with Jason Katz, with your host, Jason Katz. Brand recognition. Like, follow, subscribe on all socials. What else? Comment question of the day. Maybe you'll win a PS5 if I can ever afford one. Comment question of the day. What do you think the purpose of humanity is? Leave a comment, clickety-clack down below. And if you're a comedian watching this that's like established, hit me up to guest. I would love to guest, or host, or feature for you, because somebody did it for you, you know? And don't kill me. I'm not suicidal. All right, this has been another episode of the Podkatz with your host, Jason Katz. Wait, no. This has been another episode 18, I believe, of the Podkatz with Jason Katz, with your host, Jason Katz. All right, have a good rest of your week. I will see you next Friday, or Thursday. Have a good day. Bye.